Welcome back. It is time for Here's the Deal. We're joined today by Jodie Emery, Bracinda Rasodi, and Lee Checkstad. And as promised, we're going to talk about this Surrey artwork that you were talking to us about earlier in the show.
Yes, so we were saying that it's part of the unveiling of this new Surrey Memorial Hospital ER department, and outside is the sculpture, which you can see here, and it's blue and it's a big circle, cost $120,000. But what most people are upset about is the fact that it is coming from Mexico. They paid $120,000 for a sculpture from Mexico. It's not even a local artist. Thoughts?
Now, you were saying you had a story about this.
Well, you know, it is public art, and you know, Surrey, we now have a levy in terms of increasing the public art that developers pay for.
Now, did Surrey City Council pay for this?
No, absolutely, we did not. We were getting calls before because somebody, driver, was claiming that they had been paid a substantial amount of money to ship this sculpture from Mexico to BC. And really, a little bit what leaves me scratching my head is we're so trying to promote the local arts community, so why not do a sculpture by a local artist? And we have some most world-renowned artists who live in our own community, because art is important, but let's make developers and business pay, and then let's support local artists.
Well, the Fraser Health Authority does say that it went through the proper process and was selected based on that process. So they seem to think that, you know, all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed, and it went through like it should.
We will. We'll figure out what the proper process is to figure it out. I can't believe one person didn't just put up their hand and say, maybe we should look at some local artists instead of buying our art from Mexico. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we need to stick local, and then there would have been no controversy.
Well, I'm sure they could have found somebody who was generous with a great collection of artwork already. They could provide for free without having to use any service.
Well, this hospital, or it may have been the Delta Hospital recently, but they took all their artwork down off the walls that was from local artists because they wanted to start a new process of having artists donate it so they can sell it and the hospital foundation take the money. So obviously art in hospitals is a bit of an issue around
a hot button issue. There you go. Okay, let's talk about tolls now, and that was our top story off the top of Unfiltered. A few things with tolls, and the Transportation Minister Todd Stone saying today that there will be now a referendum. Do we need a referendum on TransLink to figure out? We still don't even know what they're going to ask. What do you think?
Well, no, and that's what municipalities are waiting for, is to see what they're going to ask, because I think, you know, we do have some thought that's gone into this, and regional tolling makes some sense. So we don't have issues that's risen like today has, where you have a mayor of one community saying, listen, we've now had an increase of truck traffic. We know that the first part of the South Perimeter Road is open. The second part is soon to open. That is going to shift the movement of goods, which is a big part of our economy. So we don't begrudge the drivers or moving of goods for our economy. But, you know, if we had regional tolling, there might be some equity for transportation corridors. Surrey has the 2 border crossings, so we have truck traffic through our neighborhoods, and US, by virtue of their geography, is a transportation corridor. And the challenge is now becoming and let's take a common sense approach and provide some equity throughout the region, and make sure that we're supporting the movement of goods and not having one community feel like they're now burdening it because one bridge has a toll and one does not.
Regional tolling.
Well, I just think it comes down to the idea that our taxes are supposed to be paying for that sort of stuff already. We know there's a huge amount of waste with government spending in many different ways, and I believe we can afford to have all of this operating without tolling people. When you start tolling it, that's really punishing people for travel. And once people are unable to afford to travel for whatever excessive fees or increases in prices, you stop having the movement of goods and the ability of people to go and travel. You start to hinder them by taking away their money. And again, government should be able to provide all of our transportation needs, basics, with the money that they already take from us.
I think people should be punished a little bit for driving, because it is such a bad thing to do for our environment.
But if you stop driving,
if you have a bad habit, then you have to pay a little bit more.
Well,
like
but it's also, you can't be nickel and dimed on every time you get in your car.
And what's bad about cars? The pollution. What's the problem with that? That they run on gasoline. Who's responsible for that? The gasoline industry. We could have had electric cars. We can have different vehicles.
Yes, I totally agree, but that is such another issue that the common person can't really take advantage of.
But that's not really true, because you can't penalize people for driving. When people can't drive, they can only take the bus. How does a mother take all of her children to soccer practice, get groceries, go to Walmart, get everything they need, take the dog to the vet with a bus and a bicycle? It's not possible.
Well, the bus isn't even there yet.
Exactly, and vehicles are essential. That's why there was was a revolution when the vehicle, the automobile, became possible. It created a huge industry in transportation, tourism, restaurants, business. Without vehicles, you don't get goods into stores. Without vehicles, you can't shop and go to restaurants.
Let's talk
as
about
easily as you can.
What TI Corp has said, that they are going to take a look at tolls on the Port Mann, possibly look at lowering them. So this is what it says. TI Corp is in the process of reviewing rates and potential discounts for all customers, including trucks, that could be implemented when the current rates expire. A final decision on any adjustments will be made soon and will be announced and communicated to customers well in advance. And the current rates expire in December. Right now, cars pay $3, big trucks pay $9.
I didn't realize that. $9? It's half price, one way, but it's half price between 9 and 5. But that's still a lot.
So when
money.
there's a free option, people are going to take the free option, and that's why we're saying provide some equity. And I get what we're saying. You know, vehicles do cause congestion and pollution and all of those things, but there's no other alternative now. We don't get bus service and proper transit service on south of the Fraser, and all the communities south of the Fraser have been saying we're brunting 70% of the growth. So we're not going to get people out of our cars. Ideally, we would have a community where there was less cars and trucks, but it's not going to happen. So if you're going to provide one alternative that's free and one that costs money, and even if it costs $1, guess what most people are going to go to? The free alternative. So let's get some equity in the tolling.
Okay, we have to move on to the U.S. government shutdown because this is going to be our favorite topic. Let's see what Barack Obama had to say to the Republicans today.
The American people do not get to demand a ransom for doing their jobs. You don't get a chance to call your bank and say, I'm not going to pay my mortgage this month unless you throw in a new car and an Xbox. If you're in negotiations around buying somebody's house, you don't get to say, well, let's talk about the price I'm going to pay, and if you don't give me the price, then I'm going to burn down your house. That's not how negotiations work.
He says it's extortion. What do you think, Brinder?
This is absolutely politics at its worst. This is what gives the political process and politicians a bad name. Really, they're now trying to shut down something that they couldn't shut down through the front door, through the back door, and they are holding the American economy hostage, and it's going to affect their relations internationally, including Canada, and I think it's just absolutely appalling.
Well, they're talking now about going back to the table tonight, that everyone has sort of conceded that this deadline next week is a really big deal. And
the debt ceiling deadline on
yes,
the 17th.
And they are starting to negotiate that. The terms in which they would go back to the bargaining
Somebody
table.
has to blink first, though, and I don't know who's going to blink first.
It is politics at its worst, but that's just politics. What's happening here is that with the government is the top employer in the United States, and when the top employer relies on the taxes of the other people who have to work and can't get jobs because of the government, this is debt. When you raise the debt ceiling, they've already done that. Trillions and trillions of dollars. When is Obama going to start paying back? They've got to cut their spending. Do you know how much they spend on the military abroad? The American people do not benefit from that at all. It's a waste of money. Their priorities are out of whack, and Obama is no different from the Republicans. They're all the same. They're just holding the people hostage by taxing them and not providing what they need.
I agree, but this was a decision made by the House that the Republicans decided to do it out of spite, I think, for Obamacare and Obama.
Look at
I disagree,
politics.
Jodie. No, I don't. I think really what the Americans have demonstrated here is politics at their worst. They're holding everybody hostage. It's our way or no way. And I think, you know, we've done a very good job here in BC in terms of demonstrating that working together provides better solutions.
Absolutely, they should work together, but it's the system that's broken. Again, this government isn't doing anything for the people. They're not. They're wasting trillions of dollars on the drug war, on prisons, on war. They're wasting money, and the American people know it. Their priorities are out of whack, and if they just cut some of that spending, they'd be able to pay for everything and fix the problems.
There's a different way of dealing with priorities than by shutting down the entire country.
But again, they don't all agree on what the priorities are.
The U.S. federal government is the largest employer in the United States. This is inevitable that when they put everybody into debt, American people don't have more money to give. They can't be taxed anymore. Every American is already in debt. Their babies, their unborn children are in debt.
This is really about Obama's health care initiative more than it's anything else. And now they're punishing him because fundamentally, based on their own values, the Republicans don't support what he's doing, and they don't really care about process or changing policies.
It's two
they
sides
just want to shut him down.
This is politics. It's politics. It's two sides fighting, and they're not going to get anything out of it until they stop wasting money. That's the only solution. The Republicans are asking for it. It's got to be done. We have to be fiscally conservative, or the United States is going to collapse. They cannot sustain what they're doing, and they're hurting the people by doing it.
They're
It's
acting
politics.
like classroom bullies is what they're doing.
Absolutely, and
yeah,
that's
and
the
I
way
think it's
politics
shameful.
works.
Oh, no, I don't think all politics works
Not
that
all
way.
of
This
it.
is
US
definitely
politics,
example of
absolutely.
very bad politics.
And we'll find out next week on the 17th if
Yeah.
the debt ceiling, if they don't raise it, if it's going
More
to affect
debt
the
for
rest
everybody.
of the world.
That's the debt
Absolutely.
ceiling.
You guys, that was wonderful. I appreciate it from all of you. Thank you very much. When we come back, what are these cafe customers running from? All will be revealed later on Unfiltered.
Okay.